Okay. Oh, we are here. And there's a lag, I see. All right, this is my name is Rosalind Big. I'm a global lifestyle transition specialist, Seat Integrity Travel. This is my first time using Zoom and YouTube
There's
together.
a lag, I see. All right, my name is Rosalind Big. I'm a global lifestyle transition
Pardon the
specialist,
pauses
Seat Integrity
at
Travel.
times. I'm gonna have to mute this. That's
She's
what
my
I'll do.
first.
Okay, that's better. I'm hearing myself back because there's a lag of probably, it sounds like maybe 20 seconds. I'm also going to move the screen because I definitely don't need to be, I think, watching the lag. Okay, learning. All right. So today is day 2 of the video visibility challenge posed to a group of my peers, my travel professional peers, by Sunday Gardner of Online Travel Boss. Yay. So day two's prompt is the why. Why am I doing what I do? Which I touched on a little bit yesterday, and I will try to get through today, but it's, you know, like a lot of things that motivate people. Let me speak for myself. It's emotional, emotional. So in the year 2000, I, the love of my life passed away in a car accident, and I was 4 months pregnant. So my first international trip was to Antigua, and it was pregnant and to bury him, to attend his funeral. Um, Before that, okay, let me start over. Let's go a little further back actually. We're gonna do the whole life story thing one time because if going forward, maybe I clip this up, I'm not sure, but the why, so let's give the why. So sometime in the mid 1900s, a man was born. Okay. My mother and father met, and they were both new to this country, to the US, coming from other different countries, but new to the US. So I'm the child of two immigrant parents who also came from parents that wound up immigrating as well. Like we are travelers. Traveling is in my blood. So there's that first and foremost. So I grew up, my mother was very big on traveling. My dad less so. He's very much a homebody, but my mom was very like, let's go do stuff, let's go talk to people, let's do some community outreach, let's hang out with people from the church, just very social and outgoing, and she was go, go, go. My mother also had not the greatest sense of direction. I hope she's not upset with me for saying this, but yeah, we got lost a lot. We got lost a lot. I learned how to use a map very young, and I actually loved it. And I'm not exaggerating. I remember being lost in Miami, and I probably was 4 years old looking at a map. And this is when we had paper maps and atlases and I mean almanacs and such. So yeah. So anyway, so we traveled domestically a lot, at least once a year, but often just a lot. Like we lived in one county, we traveled a couple, at least once a week we were traveling out of the county, and then out of the, Florida. I grew up in Florida, very long state. We were on the tip, and but we had family that was up at the base. And so we went back and forth a lot. We drove a lot. I learned to navigate early, have a good sense of a fairly good sense of direction, north, south, east, and west. Ironically, not the best left and right, but north, south, east, and west, I got you. So yeah, there was a lot of travel and I love travel and it brings me joy. That was just that's my baseline is travel brings me joy. Why it became a passion is because fast forward, love of my life, first international trip with Antigua. That was not the trip that made me see travel as this wonderful, transformative, that did not happen. I am giving myself grace because the first thing that came to mind was that I did not grieve properly, but that's not really fair. I grieved how I grieved. I grieved how I grieved. And it is what it is. Grief is grief, you know, and I'm here now. So I'm thankful for getting through that, but it was a really, 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 really like impossibly hard period. And I did not realize how grief would sit with me and the impact that it would have on my life, just in general, as an emotion in general. I did not, I don't think anybody's ever prepared, but like, I just, there was that. So I was young, pregnant. We, I had my beautiful daughter, our beautiful daughter. And yeah, I didn't really allow myself to grieve. I mean, I grieved how I grieved, but like that was by not allowing myself to grieve. I was very hard on myself when I did. I was very nervous about the impact that my grief would have on raising my child, on what she saw, what was normalized for her. Um, so but we got through it. We got through it. And travel's nice and fun, yada yada yada. Finished my degree, changed a couple of times, bounced around a little bit in business, but found a home in hospitality. So I finished my degree. Thank you, mom and dad. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, support network. I finished my degree. And so then 8 years after Jeffrey passed away, and after had our daughter and finished my degree, and like literally right after, well, after the complicated story there, I'm not going to get into, but I oh gosh, this is embarrassing. Hmm, hmm. What parts need to really be told? God. Grief is a funny thing. There are some things there. Hindsight is 2020. Hindsight is 2020. And I've lived a life, a charmed, blessed life because still here. But yeah, fast forward to 2008, past the stuff that I'm embarrassingly laughing at, but to like 2008, the end of 2008, November 19th, 2000. In fact, let's go a little bit further, a little earlier, September of 2018, 2008. After I had my second child, when my brother, he, there's definitely some stuff that skipped around, but my brother, had an, he went away for reasons to work on some skills. And when he came back, had a really hard time adjusting to or readjusting to like civilian life. It just in the brief time that he was away, it was hard when he came. It was harder for him when he came back. And so he had his first, so he wound up in the hospital and he wound up in the hospital. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. He had attempted to end his life. And 3 months after that, 3 months after that, he struggled. We he had some visits to, with some professionals, and he was medicated for, depression and bipolar, and his story's out there somewhere. And they he was also a part of several online communities, and he was the outgoing one of the two of us, gregarious, lots of friends, lots of activities. Yeah, he it's gonna take me a minute to get through it. Apologize. Uh, he was a part of these online communities. One of them was bodybuilding.com. Another one was Justin TV. He was more tech savvy than I was, and he was already into the streaming things. Like he was already in those communities and involved, and he knew that stuff. I had removed myself from that for the most part a little bit earlier. And then I had kids, and they weren't really into that, and I was trying to keep them away anyway. I wasn't trying to get them too involved in being online because it's risk averse and they're little. But he was into that. And so he was also part of this community, and I didn't realize how toxic it was. I don't think we really realized how toxic communities could get and how bullying wasn't a thing. At that point, people weren't getting suspended for being bullies, and people weren't like if you got in a fight, yes, but if you were calling names, it wasn't happening, unless it was curse words and stuff. People were not as sensitive or empathetic, in my humble opinion, than they are today, which is ironically frustrating because the fact that we still have this or that this has gotten worse is really hard on my heart sometimes. But I digress. Um, we just were not we in 2008 we were not aware. We lived in our bubble. Maybe some people were. We were not aware. We were not aware. We was sunshine and butterflies and rainbows for the most part, and fun and hee hee ha ha. He was aware, I guess he was aware. He was aware though, because he told me every now, like he would tell me that it's toxic, and I'm like, I'm reading about it, like I see it's, yeah, it looks like it's doing some harm or whatever. My kids are young, and I don't necessarily need to be all up in it. I like to share my pictures, you know. I'm millennial Gen X, so I'm sharing my pictures, and oh, now we've got memes. This is funny. That's it. But he was aware because he was part of these communities. He was part of bodybuilding.com and Justin TV. And apparently the communities he was in, they were the pre-incels. They were the incels of 2008 before the term was as commonplace as it is now. These were the guys that were the toxic masculinity's petri dish. Like the misc. I won't even say the whole thing. I will say it was called the misc, and it was the miscellaneous section of the forums of that website in 2008. Anyway, he was still struggling with his depression, and he outright told me, he was like, you know, these people online are really harsh. It's harsh out there. People can be harsh. If I was to, if I was to die online, I don't think people would just laugh. They would see it as entertainment. And I'm like, I thought he was being a little hard on humanity. I thought he was being a little hard on humanity. But they did documentaries on how harsh people were when he was saying how depressed he was. And when he was talking about what he was going to do about it, how he was going to, like, what his plans were. And he wasn't wrong about everybody. He was right about at least the people that were there that day. So, anyway, so that happened. And again, me and grief. I did not feel like an expert in it. And it's taken me a long time to get to a point where I understand my process with it and what grief is in general. It's literally taking me studying grief, like diving into it in the self-help books and talking with therapists professionally and casual, just being in the forums. It's taken a lot to get to a point where I'm like, okay, grief, where a lot of people, grief sucks, life goes on. It's taken me a lot to get to that point. There's a lot. There's a lot. And learning about the mind. It's taken me learning about the mind. It's taken me learning about neural pathways. It's taken me diving into those subjects casually for now, mind you, but it's taken me doing that kind of getting that kind of understanding just to go back and process what I didn't process in 2008, really what took me 6 years to process. So in 2008, he passed away. Um, and I didn't quite process it, but I did start talking about it. I talked about it. I think I was on Good Morning America with my mom. And my whole thing was my parents are devastated. There are reporters calling nonstop. They're calling everywhere. Like they've somehow gotten the numbers everywhere. My parents don't know peace, like right now. Nobody knows peace. My daughter, we're a week out from something very meaningful for her. So I just, I think I did not go into let me grieve my brother's passing. I went into, okay, my brother's not here, but he could be in South Africa. Like it would be the same effect if he just didn't have a device to communicate with me. I still wouldn't get to talk to him, but I would not feel what this is that I'm feeling that I can't function. Like I feel like I can't function feeling this. So so that's what so I got involved with and I love these organizations. I love these organizations. I'm glad that I was involved with it. I want to get involved again, but I used it to ignore my grieving. I talked about his passing and I talked about the effect and I let people see me feel, but I did not connect. I did not process what was happening. I didn't process what was when I was not there was a lot there were a lot of things. There were more than enough things, more than enough responsibility, more than enough everything to distract me from what it is that I really did not want to feel, much less process. I didn't know what it looked like to be on the other side of processing that my brother is not alive anymore. So I didn't. And and instead I got involved with the American Association of Suicidology, and I got involved with FISP, and I got involved with like I just started talking. I think I did some lectures at community colleges, like just a little bit, but like a lot for what for considering I hadn't processed. I did that for maybe 2 years, and then we moved, and then we moved, and I got very involved with church and family, and trust and believe. I filled my time with things that could keep me very distracted and worthy things that kept me distracted. But I didn't take time to process the grief. I stumbled. I had a hospitality degree. I wanted to get back into working full time. I've been a stay-at-home mom for a while, and I just we were getting to the point where I was like, look, the girls are getting older. They don't need me at home as much. One of them is already smarter than me, and she's in seventh grade. I they're gonna get up and they're gonna grow up. They're gonna get smarter than me. I'm gonna be just here, decoration, maybe cooking, and not have purpose anymore. I need to do something. I need to do something with my life other than raise kids. And I had this degree, and as soon as I had my degree, I had my child, and my brother passed away. Granted, I had the degree, I had my child, my husband, and I decided that I would stay at home. And then my brother passed away, and that hands were full anyway, domestically. I didn't process the grief. Fast forward, I have the hospitality degree. I need to get back out there. My mind shoots. I was actually gifted my agency as a birthday present. And my I mean, it was just the name. It was a registered name, but I'm I'm touched by it. So we registered my business. He gifted the agency, so that was nice. It was like, okay, I have the hospitality degree. It's in business. I know the values, and I guess he saw something in the travel or in the talking or whatever that he was like, okay, do that. So I looked into that, and within a year, I was very blessed I was very blessed to be matched, to discover, to stumble upon Bonnie and Walt's agency, Travel Quest, which is affiliated with Travel Leaders, which is the largest consortium in North America. And their agency, their host agency, was also it was like an award-winning host agency repeatedly. So and the owners were just literally awesome people. I could not vibe better with people. I mean, they were so approachable. I was in a space, and they were a salve, and very, again, very knowledgeable. I've been blessed to be mentored by the greats. So I was with them, and then a year after I started, they opened an active and adventure travel agency. I had not opened. I had my agency, but I hadn't opened. I hadn't made a sale yet. I just was there, um, learning, taking in, because I was like, I'm also like, okay, people are gonna pay me a lot of money. I'm not trying to mess up anybody's thing. I'm here to learn. I'm coming from stay at home to business owner, I have to learn stuff. And I do not want to learn the hard way through messing up people's things. So let me stay in this space. Let me listen. Let me read. Let me have conversations. Let me ask questions. Let me do that. That's what I did. That's how I started. I started by choosing to not make money rather than making money and having to pay it back, or making money and hoping that I did it right. Like that's how I did it. I tend to do things the hard way. I'm experiential. That's how I did it. Um, but I had excellent mentors. So I get lucky that I have these excellent mentors that are like, yeah, I'll show you how to do this. Yeah, this is what this looks like. Yeah, this is quality. And I'm very lucky. Anyway, so fast forward to that, and they did the Activision Venture um specialist travel leaders offered that special. They were, I believe they're the first to offer it as well. And I was with the first or second cohort to graduate from that program. It required a site visit to a destination that fits the description of what would be an active and adventure client would be looking for, and experience, not just the destination, but the whole experience, start to finish. So that was my second international trip, and it was to Chiapas, Mexico. It was in the jungles of Chiapas, Mexico, with a few other agents. One of them still like to my dear to my near and dear to my heart to this day, Sarah. I love her to pieces. Took me under her wing. I'm telling you, I've been mentored by the great. I cannot. It's hard to talk about myself because I know so many amazing people, but Sarah. um, I wound up sharing a room with her for about 2 hours. That trip was it was interesting. It was definitely an active and definitely an adventurous trip. But in the middle of that trip, and I don't know how to swim, mind you, we were rafting and all that kind of stuff. Like it's like an international trip. Okay. Already kind of pushed beyond, and definitely whatever I was thinking about at home, I was disconnected from. I was disconnected from. We're sleeping on the floor, like on tents in the floor, like in some cases. Then we're glamping in other ones, these beautiful, with these fans and these big windows and all these greenery and these beautiful birds. You're waking up to nature first thing in the morning. It just the air is fresh. It was uh, so we're rafting and I'm watching myself. God, I'm so emotive sometimes. So we're rafting, and the water was a little bit low. At one point, we had to get out and we had to throw the raft over, and then we had to jump in the water. They warned us we would have to do this before we did it. So I was like, as long as I have a vest, I guess I'm gonna jump in the middle of the lake. I don't know how to swim because I have a life. Yes, I did that. That was great. And then after that, I cried and I thought about my brother. And I processed that he was not in South Africa, building a life with the family and children and blissfully happy and disconnected from the stress and the troubles that we go through. He was just not doing that. He was not doing that. That was 6 years after he passed away. So, yeah, that was the beginning of my grief journey. Travel has brought me to a place of it sounds, and I know it probably looks crazy because it does not look it. I probably look a little distressed or chaotic or whatever. Like I definitely have. There are consequences to there are residuals. There are residuals, but I am tremendously, tremendously thankful and indebted to the ability to have even had the experience, because where I was at that point in life and the kind of where I was going, it wasn't like it wasn't a detriment to society or anything like that. I just there are memories that I've unlocked since then that I didn't even realize I had locked away. And there are things that I'm remembering in pieces now that I didn't realize that I was kind of not there for. So not being able to process grief or not knowing how to or not having the tools to versus being able to, being in my home environment versus being out of my home environment, like willfully versus not willfully. There's a lot of different factors that have come into a lot of these experiences, but my personal personally, there's a way that travel like softens the blow. It has always been a way to usher in and soften the blow of some pretty harsh things for me. So for me, I think the reason why I do this, at least in part, is because there are other people like me. There are other people like me. And I also know how complicated travel can be. And I know what it's like to be going through chaotic times and also trying to live life because life you have responsibilities and you have a certain kind of you have goals and you have goals not just for yourself but for the people that you're responsible for. Like there's just a lot to it. There's a lot to it. I've had after that Chiapas experience, I was traveling once every 2 to 3 months internationally. That's how that went for probably 2 to 3 years, maybe four. And then I came home from a trip to Norway. I was like, my kids don't get to travel as much. This is being normalized, what's going on TV here. They've barely been out of the country, and I think it was just to Canada. Like we got to get out of Dodge. We got to get out. My marriage was had I'd been separated for I think 4 years at that point. Like, it was like I came home and I panicked and I was like, we got to go. And 4 months later we were in the Netherlands. But and so yeah, there's stories to that too, which is why now it's not just adventure travel, it's global mobility. When I came back from that, when I repatriated, I was like, okay, let's unpack the last 4 years on paper and emotionally and financially. Let's unpack what that looks like. And going through all of the different steps led me to the worldwide ERC certification for global mobility specialist, which is definitely an HR position in a Fortune 500 company or so. But here I am because I needed the information. I needed the information. I needed the context. I needed all of that, and I needed to make sure that if anybody asked me about it, I would be able to give them good information instead of just my experience. Because my experience was crazy and it's a topic for another time. But if you got this far, bless you. If you didn't, bless you too, because I get it. It is 5 minutes to midnight. Thank you for tuning in. This is my why, roughly. It's to help in and this is just the first part, right? There's the greater future kind of I don't want to talk about the future vision because that is a whole other story, but if it's why and how I got to this point, like based on just the me part of it and what I can do to be of service, then this is what it is. It is definitely coming from a place of I know what it's like to be in a headspace and still need to do what you need to do. If I can help you, I'm gonna help you. If I can help you, I can help you. I can relate. We can relate and I can help. I got you. All right, frameworks, planning, processes, and mindfulness. So much mindfulness. All right, take care and have a good night and see you on day 3 of the what is it? Video visibility challenge. All right. Bye. see how I know how to end it.